I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Board of Finance meeting for Tuesday, January 22nd, 2012 to order. First order of business is public forum. Is there anyone wishing to address the board? Hearing none, let's move on to item 2. That is approval of minutes. 2.1, regular meeting minutes of December 17th, 2012. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second. Comments, questions, changes, deletions, etc. Anybody? I had none. We good?
No comment.
Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Actually, no.
Move
Mike?
its acceptance.
Yep.
Mike.
On page 4, near the bottom, third line up, Mr. Federici asked about an expenditure listed as glass abatement. I believe that should be window door. Glass usually does not get abated. I think glass is part of the windows and the doors. That was all I picked up.
Oh, yeah? Anything further? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Nope. All right. Item 3, correspondence. 3.1, standing building committee minutes. Any comments? Mike, you want to bring anything to our attention?
I will admit, I was not at that meeting. Unbelievably, I had a work-related issue come up at the last minute.
Can you imagine your work life getting in the way of your civic activities?
I was so disappointed I couldn't join. But I let Scott Ornstein know, and there were a couple of comments that I had, and I really have not had a chance to scan the meeting minutes as well as I would like to. So I will take any questions back.
There you go. Ken, I know you probably have one or two.
Well, I have one on, I think it's, let me see now. It's on page 5, item 12. My question has to do with item 12 proper, and I was a little puzzled by this, about what there seemed to be some question as to the Standing Building Committee's role in town projects, that it has not been consistent. I think this is what one of the members said, and I thought we had really come to a definition of where we wanted the SBC to kick in.
I'm sorry,
Ken,
Ken.
Mike, I had the same question. Yeah, it's the
In
last,
response to a question by
Yeah.
Mr. Bloom regarding the role of the committee with town projects, Mr. Ornstein noted that the committee's role in town projects has generally not been consistent. That's what caught my eye. Is that what caught you?
exactly, got the same thing highlighted.
I'm sorry, but
Right here.
Where is it?
Page
Page
5,
5. Oh,
Second
up the top.
paragraph
Oh,
down, small
all right.
paragraph.
I was looking at 12. Okay.
I noticed this paragraph as well. I was wondering why Mr. Bloom's question was absent from the minutes.
What I can do is I could bring that back and see if there needs to be a clarification on that. I'd rather not speculate as far as what was meant by that, but I will bring it back to their attention as far as what consistent is.
I don't really understand the question. I think the issue that's under discussion here is we've visited the question of what the role of the standing building committee is supposed to be, and we've tried to, give some guidance
Define it.
as to standardization
I
of
think
what they're
it's
supposed to
been
be.
defined a long time ago. And I
Yeah,
think
so
the standing-
that's the reason why we're
Yeah, and I think the
curious
standing
that there's a
building
question.
curious
committee
comment.
has been involved in just about every project.
Yeah, and so why is there a
I'm
question?
I'm as puzzled as you are. Let me put it that way.
Okay, there we go.
All right?
Okay.
We're on the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean,
I was going to ask Mike, but then I realized he wasn't there.
Yeah, it says in response to a question. Now, what that question is.
All right, we will
it-
find out.
The only thing that I could think of, and now I'm speculating, but I'll do it anyway, because it has come up before, is that on certain town projects in the past, in the history that I've been involved with or know the Standing Building Committee, there's been some inconsistency on the review of town projects. That's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's a historical comment that has been corrected over time. So that's the only thing I could think about is consistency. Where the town came up in that, I'm not sure. So I will be sure to bring that up.
Yeah, and again, you don't know whether town was an inclusive term to include Board of Ed or not. These are subject to the the clerk's notes. John, you had a...
Well, since I've been doing it for several years, the number of town projects compared to the number of Board of Ed projects have obviously been much, much smaller than the number of Board of Ed projects. So I think that has to contribute to it, that we're there every single month doing more and more projects. Every month we're there going and reviewing everything. And the town comes when they have a project that's available. Okay, so I think it's just a relationship between the two, and it's not that it's bad. It's just that I think and maybe consistent was a bad word. It's just not every month do we see town people there doing town projects, but for the Board of Ed you do. So
You bring the bulkhead for those guys?
Yeah, the ones who,
Right, and I think...
they're the ones who insisted that we hire design firms to review Jim's and Mark's plans at the cost of $20,000.
That would suggest to some degree scope creep on the part of the Standing Building Committee, because the original Standing Building Committee was to put a building up.
That's right.
And, this board asked for an expanded scope, and I know the Board of Selectmen has used them as as the subject matter experts as appropriate.
Right. Every major building project, we're not going to obviously bring trucks to their attention.
Right. Good, all right.
And
But Mike...
it's been Pam's interpretation that anything that goes through bonding,
Right.
it's your request, Board of Finance request, is that be reviewed by standing buildings. And that's why the bulkhead
Right.
went there, because part of the funding was through the town bonding.
Yeah.
Good. Anything else? If not, let's move on to 3.2, Pension Committee minutes. Any comments or questions? There's slight improvement in the fund performance, but still well below the 7.5% that we look for on the return.
Matt, the only question I had is appearing on page 3, that's top, first sentence. Mr. Pavona reminded the staff and committee that ING will be ending business on 12/31.
It was bought out by Capital One.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Those are the funny commercials?
No, I think that's a matter of opinion. That's
All right.
out of here, there, yeah.
Anything else?
Just
Mike?
a reminder, I know we were in some town workshops last week, but about some sort of a joint meeting with the pension committee.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that that's on the agenda in the future to create that. I know Sheila's not here, and Sheila's very aware of it, but
All right, I'll make sure that Sheila and I schedule something. Anything further? Let's move on to item 4, review and accept the report of expenditures for the Board of Education for December 2012. Linda and John? What would you like to bring to our attention?
Expenditures for the month of December are 41.69% as compared to 40.30% in the prior year. There are reasons for these. Salaries, there are no significant individual variances. Payroll for the month represents approximately 53%. Employee benefits, this is where we saw some increases. Workers' compensation's up, as well as unemployment compensation. Purchased services, budget expended is higher than the prior year. Variations are for the most part timing, but it should be noted that legal services, including higher anticipated expenditures for special education and negotiations. There's also an increase in tuition. We have 5 new house placements this year, or this period. Let's see. Site improvements are way down. That's primarily due to timing. We're obviously doing a lot of stuff from the bonding over the summer we're still catching up on, and they're going to be doing some stuff in the spring that's going to impact the site improvements. In terms of, I think the other thing to note is that energy consumption is actually down quite a bit, and it's primarily due to a lot of the projects we've been doing in terms of converting over to natural gas, and doing some of the solar, thermal, and other types of projects, I think have actually helped tremendously when it came to our actual energy expenditures. And on a night like tonight, you would think that it's a very good thing. So, I don't know if there's anything else. Any comment? Yes.
Okay.
I have a question about the tuition line, simply because we're at 50% of the year, and yet we're, let me get that number, we seem to be at 80% expended on the line, and the last note from Linda indicated that we were holding pretty much fast to the 180 over.
We're actually up to 194
Oh, it's 180 and counting.
and counting.
You know where that's
outplacement.
going. It's obviously going to exceed.
It's going to come
Going
close to-
higher.
It's going to come close to the 3 point, whatever it is they're asking for next year.
Yeah, right now, we're anticipating being over by about $194,000.
Net of the excess cost?
Yes,
The net of the excess cost. Okay.
yes.
Which is not reflected here at this point, correct?
No.
And the increase from last month to this month is the 14,000 is because it wasn't a full tuition.
Okay.
Other questions? No?
I had one on some of the minutes, but you want to go on to that? or-
Anybody have
Look
any
at
questions
warrants.
on the expenditures or warrants first, before we go into the questions on minutes? None? Ken, you got something on the minutes?
If I can find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to get some kind of an update on the food service financials, because if you look at the minutes of your finance committee on December 10th, in reviewing the food services financials, it discusses everything except the financials. That paragraph does not touch the issue of where we are with performance on food services.
The last financials that were reported on were through November, and we were at a loss of about $84,000. The month of November was actually a slightly better month than November of the previous year. At the February Board of Education meeting, the new food service director was going to come in and give a presentation on what changes he's made, what changes he's going to be implementing, what his plan is to try and increase the participation. So he started September 18th, middle of September. So by the November statement, he hadn't been in all that long and hadn't implemented too many changes, but he's working on it.
We did have a increase in the cost of the actual fees that we charge for each of the meals. Unfortunately, that also corresponded with some, I don't know if you call it legislature, but in terms of reducing the size of the protein portion, the whole idea of reducing the childhood obesity, etc. And well, when those two things actually collided into each other, we had a small protest that people decided not to buy food from the schools for approximately a week. So that obviously impacted the financials a little bit. And I think they also took ice cream out of the elementaries and middle schools, which, you know, that's one of the biggest money makers. No, I'm just kidding. But they did take ice cream out. I heard that quite profoundly from my daughter.
Yes.
But it's saving you some money.
It's all my
about
fault, so it's okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Anything else? Letting them off easy this month, huh? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to accept the bills from the Board of Education for the month of December in the amount of $4,617,784?
So moved.
All right, second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, recusals? None of the above. Good. Item five, review and approve the report of expenditures for town government for 2012.
I guess I'll pitch it.
You want to pitch it for Sheila? There you go.
How about it?
Playing third base.
Just don't think you're a coach.
Joe, this is unfair, so you just want us to launch into questions, or?
No, I'll try my best here.
All right.
I think I remember how to do it. We'll start with revenue, which usually starts with, we're a little bit behind last year at this time on the revenue collections, and that's basically because of tax collections falling, I wouldn't say behind, but it's basically a timing issue. Okay, and as Sheila reminded us at the Board of Selectmen meeting this morning, we really have to look at February to get a good indication, because, you know, taxes are due through the end of January before they become delinquent. The other departments, building is doing well. We're encouraged that building is starting to really pick up the last 2 years. You know, they're at 54.88% as opposed to 51.69%. Last year, we're on track with the fire department. As you remember, last year they were behind more than 1 month, and fire and youth and family services are always 1 month behind, 1 month lag, and we catch up at the end of the fiscal year. So basically, that's all I have to report on revenue. Unless you have any questions, I'll try to field them. And
Yeah, it looks as if Youth and Family Services caught up with some back billing, or they finally got some payments, because they almost doubled their revenues year to date.
right.
Is the back billing on the fire department, is that just an operational thing, or are we
No,
slipping
Ken,
behind
they're
that
always
800?
30 days
Always 30
behind.
days, so we're on target.
We're on target, right. I mean, if you were to calculate 5 months of revenue based
Yes,
on the
be right.
budget, you would be pretty much in line where they are now.
Just a quick question, the Board of Education line and the State of Connecticut line, is that just a timing issue that we just haven't received the revenue yet?
That's correct, John.
Joe, I'd have to ask this to Sheila, but reval, $2 in revenue through November? Just,
That's just an adjustment.
okay, gotcha.
See, it wasn't budgeted.
How do we get $2 for reval?
Hey, $2 is $2, I'll take it. I don't know.
Get you a cup of coffee.
Okay, any other?
Any other questions on revenue? Nope. Expenditures.
Got to get to my right sheet here.
Okay.
Expenditures are actually a little bit behind where we were last year at this time. We're at 61.2%, and last year this time we're at 62.1%. Fairly flat. I mean, we're not talking a big deal here. And if you look at, I don't know, I guess you have at the bottom of your schedule. I had Sheila do a little bit of an adjustment to compare apples to apples with the FEMA. I look at the wrong page.
Okay,
Here it is, right here. That's what I'm looking at.
okay.
So if you go total revenue, total expenses, including the Board of Ed, we're pretty much on target from last year. And that's subtracting out both storms for
from the,
each year. Okay, that would be Irene in 2011 and Sandy in 2012.
That's a nice little schedule, thank you. Does that mean we're going to anticipate about $164,000 in FEMA money if they accept?
Actually, I think a little bit more than that, because we haven't really calculated all the expenses yet. We're looking at roughly, close to $200,000 on FEMA money, okay?
So these were the hard costs, not
Yep.
the soft costs that FEMA allows as well?
That's correct.
Which is a percentage of...
That's correct. That's what we would call just the cash expenditures.
Right.
not the reimbursement for the use of the equipment, volunteer time, that sort of thing.
And part of the staff time in the finance office.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah, and my time.
Okay.
So will you see an item for storm damage repair as you do from Mark DeAngelis, I think page 49 of
You
January
talking about warrants,
15th.
Ken?
Yeah, Falcon Road.
Yep.
That's, we're just keeping that in the accounting, and we hope to get that reimbursed.
Correct.
Be one of those little items.
Yep.
That $600 item.
Right.
That would fall into that whole,
It fall into the FEMA reimbursement.
right.
Joe, are there any departments where you're keeping an eye on, or you're concerned about?
Let me pick on Jim. No. He's here.
What happens when you
I know.
Last time out.
It's worse when you're not here, though.
Actually, we're not having the winter we had last year, as you can see. And we're only into the third week of January, and we had the guys out yesterday at 5 in the evening till about 11 o'clock last night. Yesterday being a holiday, that's all overtime. And actually, even if it wasn't, at 5 o'clock, they're on overtime. They were okay this morning. We didn't have to bring them in any earlier. But I'm concerned, not that we're going to be in trouble, but we're not going to have the surpluses that we had a year ago. Okay. Unless, things warm up. But
There are some threats of Friday, which will take us through
Yeah.
another weekend
Right.
with additional cost.
Right.
Friday and Saturday,
And they always seem to happen on weekends.
on the weekend,
Okay.
yes.
I remember my first year, 2010, that's when we had the 73 inches of snow every Friday night. We had a storm.
Anything else on expenditures? Warrants?
I have one.
Okay. Kimberly?
Pick on Joe since he's here. Leather chair for the police department for $720.
It's a good question, because I asked the
Where
same
did she
one.
find it? Expenditures.
Our policemen are good size, number
here.
one, and they wear their utility belts, or we'll call them their weapons, and all the ammunition belt and that sort of thing. It requires them to have a larger space. And I think the last time they bought a chair was like 5-6 years ago. They do last. The chief has cut, he's told them to be careful with the chairs, okay?
I thought you were going down the...
No.
Chair. Wrong guy to pick on.
Nope.
I had a question. Go
Ken.
ahead, you go.
Joe, what is on the general fund weekly checks, there's a $10,000 expenditure for GCTV. It says cap fire, digital
Yeah.
communication.
That, if you remember, it's in our capital budget under fire.
So capital.
Yeah, it's a capital item, and GCTV is spending about $40,000 to upgrade their systems and to include emergency service access. And we said, remember the budget hearings from last year, that we would contribute $10,000. It's now going to allow access for the EOC rather, Emergency Operations Center, and myself and the chief, and it will be town hall and emergency service departments to post emergency information directly, not going through GCTV, whether it be a tape or the bulletin board or whatever. And it's just upgrading that technology. And since we feel, going back to the hearings, I'm kind of repeating now, since we felt that it was so important communicating with our citizens, that while we still have power, GCT was what people look towards, particularly if they don't have computers. And that's why we decided to put that into our capital budget this year.
Okay, so that's a one-time contribution to
Oh, yeah.
assist in that
That's it.
capital upgrade. And there's no annual expense associated with having access to this?
No, as far as I know, this is just the capital equipment, and it just means that Tracy, for instance, from her desk or her home, if I ask her to post something, she can post it for us.
I see.
Joe, I noticed on the warrants, a couple of payments for some legal services, one for around 18,000, another for 4,000. Is this related to the contract negotiations? Maybe?
It's a variety of things, but like I said a couple of months ago, the contract negotiations are lengthy. We've taken a strong position, the union has taken a strong position, and it's cost us some legal money. Okay. Now, I believe in there you probably also have arbitration expenses.
So,
Right. And I will say, although I can't divulge the details, but we do have a agreement with the Teamsters that was ratified by the rank and file last week. We still need executed documents that's still being drawn up, which means dotting the i's and crossing the t's, and until that's done, I'm really not at liberty to give the details.
Mike?
Joe, one question on the special fund. I know it's not a lot, but there was a gift fund amount for $1,000 for a rent.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm sorry, $1,000 came as a gift fund, the description is rent.
That is from social services account
Okay,
that we get donations, and
Oh,
without, I don't know who it was for, usually I'm not told, but someone couldn't meet their rent, they go to social services and they help them out with that.
okay, so that's coming from Youth Family
Yeah,
Services.
that would be not from taxpayer dollars, that's a special fund.
Okay, right, okay, thanks.
Any others? Nope. Medical benefits, strong and good month.
We had a pretty decent month,
Yep.
and I hate to have any of us say that because a lot of times it's rolling the dice on medical benefits, and
Right.
bear with me a second, I'll try to find my page. But basically, I can tell you is that we have 3 contracts that have hit the stop loss of $225,000. So we will not be incurring, here it is, any more additional costs for those 3 contracts for the remainder of the fiscal year. And as you can see, right now, Sheila has calculated, extrapolating this out the remainder of the 6 months, that looks like we're going to have, at this point, and I caution you, about $239,000 surplus. Okay.
Any other questions on that?
Can I just clarify? I apologize if I don't. Is a contract an individual or a family unit?
Family.
Okay. So if one individual hits the limit, it covers the whole family. They're basically maxed
I'm not
out.
sure of that. I'm really not. Okay. I think in that case, on the stop loss, it might be
It
by
was by individual.
by individual. Okay. She would, you can ask her when she gets here.
Anything else? Joe?
Yeah, we didn't get any report on the bonded capital.
No, you didn't. When I left this evening, she was trying to put it together. And basically, we had very little activity in December.
Okay.
All right. She will send that to you within a day or two.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the bills for the town for the month of December in the amount of $2,047,953?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Any recusals?
I'll recuse myself from Porto Tire.
I'll recuse myself from commercial air services.
Thank you. Okay. Item 6, consider and take possible action on request from the Board of Selectmen with regard to capital plan purchase. And I'll read, at this morning's Board of Selectmen meeting, the Board of Selectmen voted unanimously to award bid number 23-1213, Town Dock Bulkhead Replacement to Blakesley Arpia Chapman in the amount of $1,048,437, subject to recommendation from the Board of Finance in accordance with the April 12, 2011 bond resolution. As you are all aware, the stipulation is each of those projects in that bond, as they come back, need to come back to the Board of Finance for approval. So, is there a motion to advise the town to expend the amount, $1,048,437 for the town dock bulkhead replacement?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Comments, questions?
Just wanted to make a comment. I believe part of the project was covered by a grant from the state.
300,000.
Fantastic.
What was our budget?
Our budget was 700,000. But within the same bonding resolutions, we have savings
Okay.
to offset part of it. Jim Portley and myself went to the Marina Commission last week, and we were able to secure $100,000 from their fund to make up the difference, seeing that they do benefit from the bulkhead. And they graciously gave us the $100,000.
Does the marina get the commercial rents on the bulkhead?
Yes, they do.
That's what I thought. Okay. Anticipated construction start and completion time on that?
Construction start, they have to order the sheet, the steel sheet pilings.
Yep.
They anticipate they can have them by mid-February, and by agreement, it would have to be out of the water by April 30th.
Wow.
They can still clean up and be on site,
Site,
but we want to be out of the water by April 30th.
Great. Anything, any other questions? Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All abstain? Thanks, Jim. Good luck. What's that?
Let's hope the weather's warmer
Yeah,
to work
well,
on
I
it.
don't think he's gonna be out there working it, it's somebody else doing it.
I will, come on down.
There was a question this morning,
your waiters.
Hey,
if we were going to have them dive to
That's
check it
right.
out, but,
Oh, no. See you, Jim.
thank you, Jim.
See you in a couple of weeks. We can talk about the road fund.
Uh-oh.
So we can talk about the road fund.
Well, be spent by then.
All right.
Don't tell him, please don't tell him that.
Item 7, set the interest rate for Guilford Supplementary Tax Relief Program. This is our annual exercise. And Sheila, I don't know if you had a chance to read this. Sheila is recommending that the rate of 2.37 be used for fiscal year 2013-2014, as it represents the current yield on AAA tax-exempt 20-year general obligation bonds. Any questions or concerns about that? Lou, look like you're
I'm
about to
just-
formulate a question.
I'm just, she makes the observation that the bond interest is the lowest in history. I think that's what she's saying. She has a little parenthetical, and it's a shame she's not here.
Right.
I think she's referring to the fact that the bond interest is the lowest in history, and as a consequence, that the rate is the lowest,
Right.
presumably.
Yes.
Right? There's an
Yep.
association there? Okay. So I wasn't quite positive what that parenthetical was referring to, one or the other or both. It's really both. Okay. Yeah, thanks for observing my formulating the question there. That was it.
Yeah, we gotta read minds and lips, right? Wait, tell you, who knows? Oh, man. Okay. All right, so is there a motion to set it at 2.37?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Item 8 would be to set the cap for the aggregate benefit under Section E2 of the Elderly Tax Relief Program. And let me just read to you. Additionally, pursuant to Section 24727A of the Elderly Tax Relief Program ordinance, the aggregate benefit should not be set at less than 1/2% of the fiscal year 2012-2013 budget of $83,197, or
That should be 83 million.
83 million, I'm sorry, yeah, thank you. million here, a million there. After a while, it starts to add up. Or $415,987 for fiscal year 2010, 2011, 12, and 13. In order to avoid prorating the benefits for those approved for the program, the board set a higher cap. Based on the trends presented in the table below, the Board of Finance should consider raising the cap for fiscal year 2013 and 14. Currently, it is set at $1,050,000. And the difficulty we have here is the full cost of the program can't be calculated until after the application process. And I think what I'd like to do is defer this to our next meeting, unless we have to set it at this meeting, which I don't believe we have to. Do we?
You know what it's called to do at this meeting?
Okay.
I mean, I have no objection, I just...
Right. Owing to the fact that we don't have the benefit of a conversation with Sheila to see where she would recommend it being set. Pardon me?
Probably can table it.
Table it, yeah. So, would someone put a motion out to table this to our February meeting, which is only the 14th?
Second.
On the question of table, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained?
Answers you want.
Right.
Gives you some cover.
Good. Item 9, committee reports. Report on the Guilford High School Building Committee. Mike, anything of note?
Yes. Last meeting was last Tuesday. There was some discussion, there was a lot of discussion, actually, meeting went late, about the schedule, just so you know where it stands. Architects' drawings are getting close to complete. They're going to be going to the state for plan completion test review, which is the big date for the architects anyway, to go forward with the design to the state, and that is early March. They're looking at an approval from the state sometime in May, hopefully, bidding it and starting construction sometime in July, probably mid-July. So that's the current schedule status. There's been a lot of discussions about a lot of other issues. The one thing I do want to bring up to this board, we're all here, there was some discussion about a meeting that's going to be taking place on February 25th. It is when the construction documents are going to be presented to the Board of Education for review and approval. And when it was mentioned that the Board of Selectmen should be there, I of course raised my hand and said, well, we should have all three boards there. And I think that we all should be there to see where the project stands and get the presentation from the architect. It is going to be the last approval before it goes to the state. So I would recommend and have told the building committee that I will invite all of us.
And that will be at the library probably?
It will be, we did finalize it. It's going to be the 25th of February, 7 p.m. at the Adams Choral Room.
Oh, okay.
What day is that?
That, I don't know what day that falls on, unfortunately.
Mike, I couldn't hear the room on this end.
The Adams Choral.
Sorry, my voice is very low today. I don't know why.
Okay.
Must be allergies.
Usually meetings by.
And that's a public meeting?
Yeah, it'll be public, yeah. I mean, it's for the board, it's a special Board of Ed meeting, but I'm sure the public will be there.
Question.
Monday. Thanks, John.
Yep. Ken?
You have
Date, February 25th.
was that a Monday?
Monday.
Monday. I have a question for you. I noticed in the special fund that Tai Soo Kim had received an additional payment of over $357,000. I wondered where we are on the payment, since you're getting ready to submit the final materials. How much of the commitment has been fulfilled?
It's a very good question. I do not know what that is. That is information that, I'll be honest, I believe that it was supposed to be Sheila and the finance chair, subcommittee chair, Bill Mulligan, that were supposed to work on the actual chart for that. And I really think it should come to this board as far as the spreadsheet of all the expenses. I don't know where that puts them, but I could tell you that in just a typical percentage, Taisu Kim is probably at about, they're probably at about 65% complete with their services. And they probably build upwards about 50 to 55%. That's just knowing what I know about the industry. I can't tell you anything else besides that, but I don't know where we stand exactly on that budget, but they're over 50%.
Along those same lines, I probably asked this question before. Is there some published budget now for the high school that's floating around on the BOE site?
No, and that's exactly really what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
John. It's some sort of a budget that at least we should be getting also.
Yeah.
I really don't know what the status of that is, and I think I will ask that question. The next meeting is next Tuesday, and I will ask that question.
The
Sure.
The building committee did submit a preliminary budget to the finance department, strictly just kind of a work in progress. It's nothing the selectmen have been privy to, or this board.
When?
I would say late November.
Late November?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say that Sheila, in her documentation on all the bonded projects, does give us a summary.
I
We see
should
that
say that
already.
they have been meeting, and I know they've been talking, and there's been communication. The questions, though, you're asking me, I can't answer because I don't have that communication. I'm not privy to that same material, but I think it'd be worth it to, as the liaison to the Board of Finance, at least try to get my hands on it so I could monitor and answer your questions.
Thank you, Mike.
Any others?
In your professional experience, Mike, when this comes back from state review, are you assuming that it'll be go-ahead or there might be major revisions? Do you anticipate any problems at that point?
No, we cannot bid the project out for construction until the state reviews it.
You don't
So that's-
anticipate any problems?
No, not at this point.
Anything further?
We have got, I'm sure you're aware of this, we have moved up the date from the April 15th to March 4th and 5th, I believe, for the state review.
Yes. You may not have been here when I mentioned the PC.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
The plan completion test meeting, that's what he's talking about, to go to the state is March 4th and 5th, early March. Yes. It was going to be April, but
We were successful
yes.
in moving that over.
Well, it was a very big team effort by the architects, the selectmen, I'm sure, a lot of people.
And
were part of that.
Representative Whitlett's helped me out. on that,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Anything further? Committee? No? All right, old business? New business? Before we go break the public forum, just want to remind everyone, our next meeting is not the third Monday of February. The budget's, it's on February 14th, I believe. It's a date I had on my calendar,
Yeah,
Thursday.
A Thursday.
Notwithstanding that we'll have some spouses who may be glad we're not home. The budget's, I think it's the 14th, right? That's the date I had.
I don't know why that date rings in my head, but
Yeah.
I like your date better.
Gives you a little more time?
Yeah.
Yeah, because both budgets will be presented to us at that point. All right.
Regular meeting on the 14th.
On the 14th.
February 14th.
Public forum. Yeah, that's right, we're all, yeah, one big yes. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Aye.
That's pretty good.